someday this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed.
Good morning. I don't know who were the architects that put the program together, who put me behind Greg A. But I'm certainly glad to be here this morning. Langston Hughes, the same poet who gave us Hold Fast to Dreams, gave us another poem that talked about an inclusive America. And it says, I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow I'll be at the table when company comes, and nobody will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed, because I am too America. To this great community that has gathered this morning, I greet you from that sacred space right here in Salisbury, where in 1879, the descendants of freed slaves gave birth to an audacious idea of starting a school for recently emancipated slaves, realizing that education would be the true emancipator. That school, you know, is Livingstone College. But the Livingstone College story does not end with our inception, Greg, because it was in 1885, 20 years after the Civil War, an invitation which proved to be an intentional act of inclusion, invited this new educational entity founded by the Amy Zion Church to move to the once Confederate stronghold of Salisbury. And now, 143 years later, in the words of Dr. Maya Angelou, and still we rise. Unapologetically on mission, serving the underserved, underrepresented, and under-resourced. But yet, we develop and deploy graduates who have the capacity to compete and contribute in a global context with confidence and competence. In case you didn't know, I am Dr. Anthony J. Davis, the 13th president of Livingstone College, and I'm honored to render remarks on what we know today as King Holiday. If Dr. King were alive today, he would be 94 years of age. We all know that in April in 1968, an assassin's bullet ended his earthly life, but he joined that cloud of witnesses that dreamed and envisioned of a better, more inclusive America. And that's why we gather, not to just celebrate the man, but to celebrate his message. Because you cannot celebrate Dr. King with a blatant disregard for his message. As we celebrate King the man, I ask that we proceed with caution, because this day would be a tragedy if we sing, march, celebrating the man while totally disregarding his message. We must never forget that on the same day that he shared his dream with America, he delivered a calculated critique of America. He told America that the descendants of freed slaves could no longer wait, and that we would never be satisfied until justice rolled down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. And King said, now is the time to make real the promise of democracy. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksand of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. So as King critiqued a nation, let me challenge you. Don't celebrate the man and miss the message, because his message is bigger than the man. Because it's the message that will cause you to get up at 7 a.m. and make your way to a civic center for breakfast. It's the message that will make you serve meals to unsheltered members of our community. It's the message that will make you fight for the environment. It's the message that will make you fight for affordable housing and livable wages. It's the message that will have you fight for sensible gun control legislation. So communities like ours will not be plagued by gun violence, and teachers can teach without fearing that they might be shot by a 6-year-old. It's the message that'll have you outraged that on a college campus, an Asian student could be stabbed in their head repeatedly simply because they are Asian. It's the message that will make you stand up for those who have no voice, for those individuals who are trying to seek asylum and realize the American dream, but are being used as pawns in a political chess game, packed up in buses and dropped off in cities and at the home of politicians. It's the message that will make you love people, even people who attack our democracy and storm the Capitol. It'll make you love them because it's the message that we need to be concerned about. And so, as we celebrate King the Man, don't miss the message. Don't miss the message, because if you miss the message, we will mar the movement. So on King Holiday 2023, don't miss the message. Because the message says that an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Don't miss the message, because the message says that hate cannot drive out hate, that only love can do that. Don't miss the message, because King said the time is always right to do what is right. Don't miss the message, because King said in the end we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. We need to stay on message, because if we stay on message, we'll be able to turn to the page in that great hymnal that said, if I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with a word or a song, if I can just show somebody that they're traveling wrong, then my living shall not be in vain. If we stay on message, we will speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to hold hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.